And that's Ohio State's third varsity 4. Up next, we will have the fourth varsity 8, Ohio State versus Indiana. Ohio State's going to be in lane 3, furthest from the spectator shore. Indiana, lane 2, closest to the spectator shore. Both of these crews are getting lined up again in these very windy conditions. As soon as the refs see that it's ready, and we're off.
This week in the CRCA coaches poll, Ohio State was ranked 20. Indiana has no ranking. So this will be interesting to see the first race of the day between these two Big Ten schools. They are no strangers to each other in terms of program. And right now, off the start, we have Ohio State maybe almost a boat length up on Indiana, just off the start in these first couple starting sequence, taking their short strokes and settling into their base pace.
Yep, Ohio State about a boat length above Indiana, but folks, as we saw last week, anything can happen over the course of 2,000 meters.
We had a lot of close, exciting racing last week, and I'm looking forward to seeing how our afternoon shakes out, especially as conditions spice things up. But Ohio State here looks to have opened up some open water between them and Indiana very early in the race.
Ohio State is doing a great job dealing again with these wind and water conditions. And it's true, there is definitely a bit of a home field advantage for the team that hosts. You know your course, you know what a straight line is, you've been able to practice on it. And I think that is a very unique part of rowing in that you do kind of have that advantage. But we do get to host Indiana here from time to time, no stranger certainly to these waters or to rough waters. And they're doing a great job getting out of the water nice and clean together as best they can in this pretty significant headwind.
About a minute and a half here into racing. Ohio State still maintaining that open water over the Indiana crew. Both crews working to make sure they're getting the full length of the stroke here. With these wind conditions and the rough water conditions, it can be difficult to take your longest, most effective stroke. And I see the Ohio State boat doing a pretty effective job of that. They've now opened up about 2-3 boat lengths of water between themselves and the Indiana crew.
We've got this great shot here of the Ohio State crew doing a great job just swinging together. And what I mean by that is their bodies are really moving together and in sync, which is exactly what you want to see out of your fourth varsity 8. You want to be able to have that depth of both power and skill. And we've got a good shot here, too, of that Indiana crew. They're also swinging well together and doing what they can to get through these pretty rough water conditions. And those wind conditions, too, they change throughout the course. So especially at the start and at the finish, they're the most significant. Now, in that first 500, you do have a little bit more protection, but it definitely starts opening up.
Absolutely here. We're almost 3 minutes. These athletes are nearing the halfway point of the course, and Ohio State doing a good job of catching together and moving together. They are several boat lengths ahead of the Indiana crew here. Indiana still working hard, moving together, navigating these conditions.
And last week, if you were joining us, we talked a lot about clearing puddles, and that's much easier to do in a tailwind. And the puddles are the marks that the blades leave in the water once a rower takes their oar out of the water. And the goal is to have the stroke pair pass the puddles of bow pair. But when you're in this headwind, that can be a very difficult task. And what that means for the rowers are if they aren't clearing puddles, they may be putting their oar into some disturbed water, which can make it a whole lot harder to have, good, clean finishes and good, clean catches, which is a whole lot easier when it's a flat, nice morning.
Ohio State here crossing the 1,000-meter mark at a time of 3:36. A dominant performance here over this Indiana crew. Again, in this fourth varsity 8, in the fourth varsity 8, a lot of these athletes are walk-ons, and this is their first year in the program. They may have had their first official race as an Ohio State athlete last weekend at the season opener here at Ohio State. And so these athletes are doing a great job navigating this course in these water and moving together. It speaks again to the depth of the program to be able to recruit people totally new to the sport. And within a couple of months, they're on the water representing their school as a varsity sport. So it's an incredible testament to the walk-on program here at Ohio State and Indiana as well. All schools in the Big Ten have walk-on programs that recruit athletes in their first year of college, and it's incredible to join the sport through that way. That's how I found rowing in college, through the walk-on program. And so it's great that these schools continue to foster that tradition to foster the next generation of athletes in their program.
And we still see that Ohio State crew 5, 6, potentially more boat lengths above Indiana. It did appear that Indiana may have had to stop for a second. It's unclear if that was a full stop, but sometimes, especially in these wind conditions, your oar can get stuck and you catch what's called a crab, which basically means your oar is either caught in the water for a little bit or potentially goes above your head. In the worst case scenario, you could get an ejector crab, which means your oar catapults you out of the boat. We can see the Indiana crew, and that did not happen here. But they may have hit a little bit of a snag there, but they are back up and rowing here in these harsh wind conditions.
We may see a couple more crabs before the day is out today.
Oh, certainly, especially in these conditions. And if it keeps getting, even more windy, I wouldn't be surprised.
Ohio State 4th Varsity 8 looking strong here as they're well underway in the second half of their race, moving cleanly together through this water, through these wind conditions. And Ohio State is approaching their last 500 meters. They've established a dominant lead over this Indiana boat. The 4th Varsity 8 approaching the line, approaching the shore, all the fans on shore here today.
And Ohio State just charging to that finish. They are not letting these conditions affect them. They're doing a great job just about clearing puddles, which is an amazing feat in these conditions.
Especially as this wind opens up here as they move into their final strokes of the race, opening it up for a sprint, a practice sprint. It'll be important and a good opportunity for these athletes to practice clean extraction of their blades.
Ohio State's 4th Varsity 8 is coxed by Sam Frieda. She's doing a great job getting her crew up, getting the rate up, but having a nice, strong finish here as they approach the finish line.
And Ohio State is across. Indiana crew having a strong finish here, approaching their last 500, the end of their race here on the Scioto River in this afternoon session. I give kudos to this crew to navigating these conditions, and here Indiana's approaching the line. And folks, as we are working in adverse conditions today, we're on 8-minute centers, which means our races are starting every 8 minutes, and we have kicked off the 3rd Varsity 8 race at the top of the river. So Indiana approaching the line, and we have our 3rd varsity race off to a start, working to condense the schedule to make sure all these athletes have the best opportunity to have the best conditions on the water. And Indiana crew, 4th Varsity 8, approaching the line. And over. We'll have some official times for you shortly, but the 3rd Varsity 8 race is underway. Lane 4, Indiana University.